In this video, we're going to take a look at a brown ink by Montblanc Einstein. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so you can skip around, but if you've got the time, it really does help me out if you check out the entire video. Also, down in the description is a link to the brown ink playlist, so if you want to see more brown inks, you can find that there. I'm an ink guy, and let's get into the first writing sample done on 90 GSM Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, no feather spread, halo sheen. We do see shading in that Montblanc looks much lighter than Einstein, which starts as a dark midtone to very dark to that dark midtone again. Extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub. No feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading. The is very dark. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Brown goes dark to light. Fox goes light to dark. 6 seconds to dry. Medium is a little bit lighter than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Brown goes dark to light to dark. Fox goes dark to light to dark. You're getting this. 11 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby for both shows some color variation. It shows better in the medium, and it did show better in the medium. The smear test says you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. To have a range of experience with this ink, all of the writing samples are done with a Jinhao 159 with a 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a medium, and a Jinhao X750 with an extra fine. Then a Sailor 1911 with a music nib was inked up, used for a day, and used to take the notes for this video. Now, let's look at the next writing sample done on 52 GSM Tomoe River. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade very nicely. Quick goes dark to light to dark. Brown goes darker to lighter. Fox goes lighter to darker. 11 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tones as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading as quick goes darker to lighter to darker. Brown goes darker to lighter. Jumps goes darker to lighter to darker. 19 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show good color variation, and we really do get it in the writing sample. In the smear test, you could not recover if you smeared while you were writing. I agree with Vita. There's a lot to learn by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. A line of ink is put down, and then it's put into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this very greenish tone at the bottom. Now, as it pushes up, you start to see some purple come in, and then a yellow, and then an orange, a very complex ink, which shows us why it shades so well. But that line at the bottom, as an immediate, really gives you the idea of how permanent this ink can be. The one on the right is let dry for 10 minutes before it's put in the water. That green, very much there, very little of it moving up. We see how little of the purple is actually in this ink. And we start to get a little bit of water separation where we get that very light yellow and then a bright orange at the top. But we can expect a little bit of resistance from this ink. The next writing sample is done on 80 GSM Rhodia dot pad. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading, like when you look in Einstein, right in the middle, you see it starts darker, gets a little bit lighter, very dark at the T, and then comes down to a midtone on the IN. The extra fine is a lot lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, much better shading as quick goes darker to lighter to darker, brown goes darker to lighter, jumps goes lighter to darker, 7 seconds to dry. Medium is a little darker than the extra fine, nowhere near as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice gentle shading as brown goes darker to lighter to darker, fox goes lighter to darker, 11 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show a lot more color variation. It's much easier to see here than it is in the writing, but in the writing it is beautiful to look at. The smear test says you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. The smear is allowed to dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter at the top of the lowercase h, there's a tiny bit of blowout, but none of the rest of it is moving. I think you could use it if you wanted in a note-taking situation. I just wouldn't want to go back and highlight and ruin this great ink, but that little bit of blowout is always a concern for me. Water is doing very little to move it. You see it's only moving a little bit of that top, but the most of that ink is still very much a part of the page. Pen flush is only doing a tiny bit more than water did. 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the paper. Now, as you would expect with a Montblanc ink, it only took water to get this out of my pen. The next writing sample is done on TWSBI notebook paper. We have no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does shade very well. It goes from a dark mid-tone to very dark to dark mid-tone to very dark to dark mid-tone. So it's this constant dark to very dark. It's quite nice. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, nice shading, brown going darker to lighter, quick going dark to light to dark, 5 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading, the going light to dark, quick going dark to light to dark, brown going dark to light to dark, fox going light to dark, 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows some color variation, a lot more in the medium than in the extra fine. The extra fine is very little, though in the writing, I think it's very nice for both. And the smear test, you could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average viscosity was 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Montblanc's Einstein has a viscosity of 3.11, meaning it's a drier ink than normal. If you're interested in how the viscosity and all of that stuff is done, then down in the description is a link to that video. Now let's take a look at the next writing sample done on monocoque paper. No bleeding. That's not too bad. It's at the scrubby. Very minor ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. Not seeing much for shading. I think it's the tone of the paper that's eating that up a little bit. The extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, nice shading as quick goes dark to light to dark, brown goes dark to light, fox goes light to dark, 5 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, and some very nice shading as brown goes dark to light to dark. Fox goes dark mid to light to very dark to dark mid again. 8 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both showed decent color variation, much better in the medium. I think it shows better in the medium. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. For the inks tested, the average dry time was 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Montblanc's Einstein has an average dry time of 11 seconds, making this a faster drying ink. The last writing sample is done on Leuchtturm 1917 paper. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feathers spread, halo sheen. Yes, it shows some shading because the Mont of Montblanc is much darker than the Ein of Einstein. Extra fine is lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, nice shading. Look at brown going darker to lighter, over going lighter to darker, the going dark to, very dark to dark. Lazy goes dark to light, and so nice, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shading, 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby of the extra fine shows color variation. We get plenty. The medium showed none, and we got none. And the smear test you could recover if you smeared while you were writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Montblanc's Einstein, I'd prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went with a magenta ink and decided to be thematic when I chose Colorverse Einstein Ring. If you'd prefer a different complement color, then down in the description are links to different color playlists. So what do I think of Montblanc's Einstein? I would love a bottle, but not for the price. It's like $100 on the aftermarket. This would probably be the only ink I ever rotate out to make sure that it lasts longer. If you have a bottle and you're willing to sell it for a reasonable price, let me know. I'd love to be able to purchase it from you. So what nib and pen are going to give the best writing experience with this ink? The very dark from a wet pen is not bad, it's just not my liking. I really like how it looks from a medium flow. But being how expensive it is, I would actually go with a medium flow fine or a dry fine in order to extend out the life of how long I could use this ink. Its shading and tone is absolutely gorgeous. I hope you got something out of this video, and in the next video we're going to take a look at a shimmering ink by Diamine, their Caramel Sparkle.